started to stand back up to do the
Of course, I'll wait more when I land.
Okay, we won't go
No, they
back.
started to get back up to do the pledge. Okay,
Okay.
so you were just about to say yes to all. I think you had some questions about the food fees
Right.
or food and
Yeah, so we were talking about the food fees.
so we inspect the high and medium risk facilities every 6 months. Low risk facilities are annually. Oh, I think you guys were talking about the schools and how much time it really does just depend on the size of the school, how many cafeterias they have, things like that.
So low risk is annually,
Yes,
medium risk,
and high risk is 6 months.
both or what?
Yeah,
6
twice a year.
Both or what?
Every 6 months.
Oh. Biannually?
Mm-hmm.
Does biannually mean twice a year or every 2 years?
I don't know, that's why we wrote every 6 months.
Every 6 months, okay.
Yes.
Let's just leave it at that then.
Where's Harry's place?
That's the
There's a place to go over in the Truman Building.
Truman Building,
Oh.
cafeteria.
Okay.
See, some of those that, so the ones that are highlighted in yellow
Okay.
are, right now, we had, or previously, they had not been, they didn't have a fee, but we are proposing to start charging those. A lot of those places, it's actually somebody else's buys the opportunity to be a vendor there. And so it's kind of like, they're there to make money also.
And so, the city has their own orders, they do all the establishments in the city,
Mhm.
unless they're in a state building. That's why we do the Truman Building, Lincoln University, the Capitol, DHSS of Wildwood, so if it's a state.
Okay. I didn't know
Because
that.
of the participation.
didn't know.
We just try to be really confusing.
What's the difference between the high and medium risk? How do they,
It's usually the type of food that they serve and cook there.
so it's a different type of inspection or?
It's the same inspection, just more time consuming because there's usually more equipment, larger menu, and more people served.
Okay. So sometimes the size of it, the size of the menu.
So when you say the city does restaurants, and do they do schools in Jeff City then too?
They do,
They do.
Or do they charge a fee or?
they do.
Okay.
And their fees are on the front page. Their high risk fee is $505.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they do that twice a year?
Yes, every 6 months.
Yeah, but is that 505 per inspection, or is that,
Per
That's
year.
their annual,
That's
their
their
yearly
annual.
fee.
Yeah, and that's what we're asking for too, so there is a clarification that should be listed on each handout. It's a permit fee, so annual permit fee, not inspection fee.
So
That's
that's
what we're proposing.
per year,
Yes.
the fees per year.
Correct.
I assume if we pass this, then we would send out notification to everybody, just to let them know what to expect.
Right.
And they have been sent, all of our establishments have been sent a letter that this is something under review, we feel we need to take time to look at, and changes could be coming.
Do you have any responses from them?
Actually, a lot of the in-person meetings, we try to get familiar with everybody we're inspecting. A lot of them are saying, yeah, it's about time, you all are behind, so.
Well, I agree, we probably are behind. I just wanted to know for sure if we had given them any kind of notice and a chance to offer any feedback. And, what if somebody says, well, we shouldn't be a high risk, we should be a medium risk? Do they have a say in that, or?
Right,
do
so
they
if
already
they-
pretty much know that?
Yeah, if they perform well during their inspection, their risk category is re-evaluated every year.
Okay.
So if we have well-behaved folks, they could potentially drop down to a different risk level. Also, if we have some issues that are continuously coming up, they can be moved up to the higher level.
But most of the low risk are gonna be those gas stations that just have hot dog rollers and small things like that, right? I mean, most restaurants
Yeah.
that prepare food from scratch are not gonna be a low risk facility. they're the prepackaged type, things.
I mean, I'm good with the proposed fees.
I am too. I think we're still very reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the fees, and if you wanna talk about the ones that aren't currently billed, I think we need to address that totally separate. So, is that what you were saying, just the fees, or you want to address that today too?
I'd like to address it today, I mean, since they're here. I mean,
Okay.
so, obviously, if Jeff City Public Schools been charged $505 to inspect their cafeteria.
Their cafeteria inspection fee is different, and at the time of printing this up, the city had not gotten back to me with their recent fee yet. I do have that back at the office. I believe it's $100.
So is there cafeteria fees on top of the food inspection fee, or?
It's just a cafeteria fee for that facility. And they also do daycares, which we're not interested in.
But do they have a permit fee also then, or no?
I would have to ask. That.
I don't, there's a lot of kids being fed at a lot of schools, and I mean, $150 is not really that much money in the whole scheme of things, or to even to charge the schools. And probably a lot of risk there with, I mean, you're feeding 300, 500, whatever, how many kids, I mean, and that's per school, so I don't see that as being out of line. I mean, so, just to take one for instance, so Pioneer Trail's not getting charged, but the rest of them are.
Right.
And they're being charged a whole lot more,
For,
for the same type of school, so I don't seem right.
No, I'm fine with them. I'm fine with moving on with it.
okay.
So we're gonna,
You're wanting to bill the schools and the ones that are highlighted, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'll argue the same thing that you just said, that it's not that much money. So, it's really not that much money in the scheme of things, and we're actually providing a service to more or less protect our kids, so.
right,
I mean, I'd just soon not charge them, the schools for it, and just keep it the same, but change the fee. But if you two wanna charge everybody and, it's consistent across for everybody, that's.
I just think it's fair, so, do we need to vote on this?
Yeah, I'm fine with changing the fees, but I'd just leave the ones that we do not currently bill the same. So if you wanna do us two different motions, we can, or you can
Okay.
put it all in one,
We
but
do that? I move that we accept the fee structure for food establishment permit fees.
second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move that we charge all the highlighted food establishments and schools on this list that are currently not being charged.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
When do you want this?
I think she has one.
She's got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so then the second part was the onsite sewage fees. We're not done, sorry. Those fees haven't changed for some time. Our base permit fee is $200 for new construction or replacement. Repair is $50. We're wanting to increase the base fee to $300 and repair to $100. And then we would also like the ability to charge $50 an hour for when we have very complicated systems and we have to make more than 3 visits out to review the site location. We have some people that are like, I think I'll try to put this type of system in. Oh no, I think I'll try to do this. Oh no, I think I'll try, and it's many trips, many many hours hand-holding with reviewing their plans, and especially when the homeowners wanna install their own system and they're not licensed installers, which under Missouri law they can do. But they still have to put in a system that meets requirements. So it takes a lot of time from our staff. So, and then we also had some incentives. So, you know, if they wanna put a tank in front of the lagoon, it helps the system. We would be willing to take some off the, you know, permit fee, give them discounts for things like that. So, I don't know if Mike or Braden have any more comments, or Joe, but.
Did you all contact Home Builders Association and let them know, kind of get any feedback from them and see? I mean, I think they'd be supportive of it. I think it's a fair cost for it. And when's the last time this was raised? On time in there, we got so
Yeah,
much
before
time.
me.
2014, I think was the last was before that, it was a time before, so around 2010, 2011.
We have had some, since last time, I mean, we have had some discussion with actual installers. You know, we've talked about it, but not a formal campaign to, you know, see an idea if they're okay with it or not. So,
Most home builders that I talk to, like whenever one of the construction general contractors called, they're surprised at how low our fee is compared to the other building permits and things like that, and the hookup fees for like city sewer, things like that. They're really surprised at what our permit fees are.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I just like to run that by them instead of throwing it at them and going, oh, by the way, this just increased last month and you knew nothing about it, so maybe run this one by and.
You wanna table it a month? All right,
Yeah, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, we can do that.
I just wanna
Okay.
run it
We
by
can
them.
reach out to them. I know they're probably kind of busy this week with the home show coming up this
Oh.
weekend, but we can still reach out to them.
We can get it to our legislative guy, Heath Clarkston, and he can get the information out
Okay.
and just make sure that there's not something in here that we're missing or whatever too. 'Cause I'd rather have them on board and know what's going on.
Yeah, sure.
I agree, yeah.
But I don't disagree with that. I think it is
Okay, you
very
guys
low
you think
fee.
it's
Yeah, I
fair?
think the fees are in line. I mean,
Okay.
I don't see any opposition from home builders.
You like the
but-
incentives for the two? And that's kind of something new we were trying.
Kinda.
Okay.
is there anything you want us to check on or
Or say
look at
change
further?
before
Or-
we send
yeah.
it to home builders?
Well, I mean, it sounds like more of your problems are with your homeowners trying to do some of this stuff, and
Sometimes,
mean-
and sometimes it's just,
Sometimes
that
it's
don't-
installers trying to push the envelope.
right,
And, well, if that'll work, how about this? And if that'll work, how about this? And then
Right.
we're reviewing 4 or 5 sets of plans and then you show up and they've changed their mind again. It's not so much with the engineered plans, it's the basic installers or even the advanced installers. And while rare, it does happen, and it is, as Christie said, it is very time consuming. Even just in plan review, you could end up having 3, 4, 5 hours
So
in
I-
plan reviews and doing the math review and everything else, so.
I would think that they would need to, even a basic installation, I would think that they would need to submit a sketch.
They do, and then they wanna change.
Well,
and-
then I would tell them to start over. I mean, because if you're not gonna build it according to plan, you need to start the process over, and it needs to go.
And we've had some discussion about that. And again, this is fairly rare that it
Right.
happens, but when it does, we want to have some ability to, you know, get additional funding
Right.
when we think it's necessary. And, you know, basically a $50 per hour is probably gonna be about the same as what, you know, I think it'd be less controversial, because then you already have it, and instead of, well, you already have my application in, I just making some, you know, slight revisions, and so it's probably harder, I think, it would be harder for us to force them to do a new application than it would be to say, well, we're charging you. Here's, you know,
Right.
so.
A slight field revision I could deal with, that's, I mean, trying to redo it, I mean, that's a
yeah,
different ballgame.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just- I'd like him to be able to look over it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a whole lot in there to be too concerned about, but, I mean, it is government. And there's things in here like added only if necessary. Well, your definition of if necessary and mine are gonna be completely different. And if you're having to watch to make sure they do it right and you're charging me $50 an hour, we may have a difference of whether that was necessary, and another trip and all that, so, yeah. Let's just take a look at it and we'll go from there.
You wanna table it 1 week, or you wanna wait 2 weeks because of the home show?
No, let's just get with home builders and see how long they wanna take a look at it, and give me a
Okay.
couple weeks at least.
That's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Okay, sounds
okay.
good, thank you.
All right, thank you. We skipped over the LAPTA stuff
Okay.
for the sheriff and the highway grant.
Okay,
I think we can handle it pretty quick.
yeah,
maybe.
signing of the FY18 LEPTA Equipment Grant Award for Rapid IDs.
Wasn't he up to the back of the line though, since he interrupted the
I
meeting?
didn't do it on purpose, as far as you know, Brad. Anyway. So, on this, you have to
You gonna give
sign
us a
this one.
copy? You can't
No,
sign it.
I don't have a copy for everybody.
Okay.
But you have to sign that
Move
one,
on.
and then you have to initial all of those.
Oh,
Yeah. Here you go. So this
So-
is
so what
for
is this for?
$6,000 for 4 rapid IDs. It's a grant. Rapid IDs we can put in our vehicles, we can ID individuals out on the field. We already have some of these, and we've got some from last year from this grant.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Move that we approve and sign the fiscal year 18 LEPTA Equipment Grant Award for Rapid IDs.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Signing the 2020-2021 DWI Highway Safety Grant application.
So this is the DWI saturation, so this is the wolf pack. It's $9,500. The first one you have to sign, Sam, and then everyone has to sign the second page.
Okay.
Again, this is we sign this every year, but this is just a grant from Highway Safety for us to be able to perform extra.
It's just the application, right?
Yes, sir.
Move that we sign the 2021 DWI Highway Safety Grant application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Signing of the 2020-2021 HMV Highway Safety Grant application.
This is for HMV, hazardous moving violation, $6,200. It allows us to be able to go out and work different areas of the county for hazardous moving violations. Again, this is it's the same thing. You have to sign here, Sam, and then everybody has to sign that second one.
Okay,
Move that we sign the 2021 HMV Highway Safety Grant application.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay,
Thank you for your cooperation earlier, too.
yeah.
I don't think we had a choice, did we?
No,
Sorta.
Well, thanks for warning us.
that's the way to wake you up. We just wanted to make sure everybody's awake. Do we have any other unfinished business before we go into new business?
Do you
No,
want
we're
to
already
have
in
to-
new business. Yeah,
Huh?
we were already in new business, so
Oh.
let's get back out.
Okay. Accounts payable review?
Already did that.
Oh,
We're
second
at
final
public-
reading?
Public hearing of court order for four-way stop. That's where we're
Okay.
at.
Yep, you were
Yeah.
just
Okay,
Yeah.
public here,
Yeah, you stepped up.
Oh, that's right.
okay. Whatever
It's
you.
not
Public
near as
hearing
funny
for
then.
court order for four-way stop control at intersection of South Country Club Drive and Stroke Station Road.
Oh.
In the interest of time, we'll try to go through this pretty quick. We had our Road and Bridge Advisory Committee, or not Road and Bridge, Traffic and Safety Advisory Committee meeting last Wednesday. Kind of a short time scheduled meeting due to an issue that we have encountered recently at the intersection of Scruggs Station Road and South Country Club Drive. And this would be the public hearing for that decision that was made at the meeting last week. It's a little slow, isn't it?
Yes.
We'll have to, okay. One thing to note is that this intersection is half in the city, half in the county. And David just happens to be here on the other item on the agenda, but he could attest to what the city's doing on their end of it. This is the current intersection. Scruggs Station is stopped, and South Country Club has the through. There was 2 requests that we know of. There may have been a few others, but one request came into the city. Councilwoman Weissman had a request. I believe the resident was actually in the county, but the request went to her. Their family had been in a serious accident at the intersection, and this person was requesting, actually mentioned a roundabout or a 4-way stop or flashing lights or something of that order. And then the second request was from a Missouri State Highway Patrol trooper that had worked multiple accidents there recently, and that request came into Larry Benz. Original configuration of this prior to 2005, maybe a little bit newer than way back when, but South Country Club was not the through. It turned to Fairgrounds Road, and so you didn't have near the traffic that you're seeing today at that intersection. And in 2005, the improvements were made. City and county both did projects on South Country Club. The city's project was to connect it to where the through stayed on South Country Club all the way into town near the newer gas station at Edgewood Drive, or West Edgewood. In 2009, we were seeing some issues with accidents, and we had a request come into the Traffic and Safety Advisory Board in 2009 requesting flashing yellow lights be placed here. At that time, the board chose not to do that, but to place some additional signing notifying motorists of what's coming on South Country Club, and then a sign below the stop sign on Scruggs Station saying cross traffic does not stop. We also made some striping changes, moved stop bars up, put a crosswalk in to tie in the sidewalks. And those stayed there until, just like they are, until recently we started seeing a lot more problems, more so in 2019, and several accidents actually in December. And that prompted the new review of the intersection. Just a few pictures showing the intersection as you're approaching it, going south on South Country Club. And then the next picture is heading north on South Country Club. And it's a pretty straight through road. And then I won't get into the specifics on the traffic data, but there's quite a bit of traffic at this intersection, especially coming from the west on South Scruggs Station Road, making a left turn on the South Country Club. Again, another picture of the current intersection, and then more pictures, and these will be on Scruggs at the different directions looking, in this case, looking to the north. And as you're making a left turn out of here, and you can see on the picture, there's a bus shelter there at a bus stop. A little bit of an issue, side distance issue there, but typically what traffic will do, they'll pull up a little bit before they make the turn, and you can see fine as you're pulling up. The next picture shows looking south at the intersection, same direction, and there's some issues there with sight distance over the crest of the vertical curve, and then there's a power pole that kind of conflicts the view as well. Next picture is, like the other one, pulling up a little bit, you can see fine. Next picture will be heading westbound on Scruggs at the intersection and looking south. Again, the same sight distance, just from the other direction. It's a sight distance issue. Next picture is looking north, heading back into town. And it's okay here, but there is that sign that can conflict the view a little bit, but it's not too bad. I put on the desk there a copy of the draft report done by Tia Griffin at the City of Jefferson staff, and she went into the more detail about it. I won't get into too much on that, but when looking at intersections for stop control or different signing, we look at a manual called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, kind of a national standard. They go through a bunch of different things. They give guidance on when to do things as far as signing goes, and several different criteria on a four-way stop. And she found that it meets the guideline or the guidelines from the MUTCD to make this a four-way stop. Here's the accident data going back to 2010, and you can see in 19 we had a real spike, and actually I think that number is low. Morgan Patterson, who serves on our Traffic and Safety Advisory Board, who is a state trooper, he did a little research on the accidents in advance of the meeting, and he thinks there was actually 9 last year. So we made a recommendation to the board, they accepted it, and their recommendation to the county commission would be to concur with city and county staff and make this a 4-way stop control. They also agreed that measures should be taken to phase in the change by notifying the public through media and placing changeable message boards and temporary rumble strips in advance of the intersection for a set time period after installation. Also, in addition to that recommendation, the staff recommendation, they would ask that the city consider relocating the bus shelter further from the roadway. And this is what the proposed intersection would look like. We would add the 2 stop signs on South Country Club and put 4-way, it'll come here in a second, put a 4-way placard underneath stop signs. And then, if you remember the signing in advance on South Country Club, the intersection ahead signing, replace that with a stop ahead. Taking a delay. So, and it's on your packet there too. And so we would need from the county commission a motion to either accept, modify, or deny the Traffic and Safety Advisory Board recommendation, and I would make that contingent on city approval. And normally when we would do a court order with these, I would recommend that we wait on that. Let's let the city's Traffic and Transportation Committee approve it as well before we get too far ahead. I would not want to have us have a court order approving the stop sign and then the city not. So let's table that part of it until we know for sure that this will happen on there. And we are stuck, aren't we? So, Chris, you had mentioned last week when we were talking about possibly soliciting some public comment on this. Do we want to consider that? And maybe ask David, when you get into issues like this, is there more of a public comment period?
Not necessarily so. Certainly the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting is a public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are welcome to attend that, but, certainly I think, if the 4-way stop were to be implemented, certainly, advance notice, some changeable message boards, as Eric indicated, just to, make sure that everyone has, enough warning that the control of the intersection is changing. We hate for, people to not realize the stop sign's there and the folks on the scrubs think that it is, so.
That's gonna be people like me,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be driving through there, I don't hit that road as much, and all of a sudden,
Right.
so how long is the temporary rumble strips gonna be? Is that something that, what's gonna hurt leaving them down?
Generally, you don't want, during snow or winter season,
Hmm.
they would get taken out by the plow, so you wouldn't want to have them up during that time period. Couple months, possibly. The only problem with that is it makes quite a bit of noise, and residents will start to complain about hearing noise all the time. We do have rumble strips in advance of some stop signs on county roads.
Yeah, I can
A
understand.
few locations, not a
I
bunch.
wouldn't want them in front of my house either, so.
There's not a.
But I'm just saying it's gonna take a while to get that habit formed, because just used to driving through there. But, yeah, I had questions about it, you took care of them on the emails, and, I'm fine with accepting their proposal. I still don't understand why there's so many wrecks there, but it's statistics, so.
I didn't get too much into the actual traffic counts, but there's more traffic actually on Scruggs Station than there is on South Country Club, which is unusual. There's just a lot of traffic coming from the west heading into town.
When I think it was rush hour, y'all put it like,
That's the other reason is a lot of people are
Yeah,
distracted.
yeah.
It's worse and worse every day, so.
so how's the stop sign gonna help that? Now they're gonna drive right through the stop sign and T-bone them.
Well,
They're just gonna make them feel safe pulling out there.
I
So-
understand what you're saying, Jeff, and
I already said I'm gonna accept it,
Yeah.
Eric. Run.
I gotta stay here for the next time. It's like, it's something we are concerned about, and we'll do everything we can
Yeah.
to get people accustomed to doing that.
Okay,
It's,
yeah, your emails cleared it all up, and
So what did we need to do then? We needed to
well,
accept the recommendation of the.
Accept the recommendation, yeah.
Pending approval by the city.
contingent upon the city approving it, and then we
Yeah.
can do the court order.
Yeah, we'll do the court order when we get confirmation that they're moving forward on their process. their meeting will be.
We got
in
David
March.
here.
Right, so our process on our end is we would take it to our our Transportation and Traffic Commission, and, of course, they're a recommending body. I suppose if they would recommend that to the council, then it would go to the council for 2 readings, at which point it would become part of the code, and the stop sign would be installed from our point of view. So, that would probably be, the first meeting in April would be the soonest that would be in place on our end.
And you'll get feedback. I was on transportation traffic for 9 years. You get feedback. If people aren't in favor of it, they'll be there. But I don't foresee, you know,
Nobody likes change, I'm sure.
no, but
I mean, I think Eric did allude to, I mean, one thing that is very interesting with this intersection is actually the leg coming out of Westview Heights, which has the stop sign, is actually technically the major leg in terms of traffic volumes. So, that's, so in some ways, the largest percentage of users already are stopping. So,
Similar to like South Country Club and Zion Road there, where we made, yeah, you know, that's kind of an odd intersection, but we made the thorough leg based on the traffic flow. So, kind of a odd deal, but can't hardly do that that was just a T intersection.
No, the traffic counts are fairly distributed. I mean, not so much on the east and south, but not too bad as far as where everybody's coming from. And a 4-way stop does work good here. It's kind of an interim measure before you get to like a signal or a roundabout, which we're not anywhere close to that. Wouldn't recommend that right now. So, and it's a safer, obviously a lot safer than what we got now with people going through there. And it's hard to explain why it's happening, but it is an issue that's happening, and if we have ways to address it, and if it's warranted through the METCD through what we checked, then it's something we really need to consider.
You get long stretches of road like that too, and people tend to go a little faster than what they should, so.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the recommendation from the Traffic and Safety Advisory Committee and send it to the City of Jefferson.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Clark Avenue roadway improvements project funding discussion.
So, went to the city's Public Works and Planning Committee last week after the commission's decision to allot a certain amount of money to go towards the project, which was a little over 1.1 million, I believe. And so, the city has agreed to accept that amount, and they will put in a little bit more to get the necessary funding to match what MoDOT's providing. And so David's here really maybe just to go through it and just, we were gonna come and present the agreement, but after talking with Jill and Kristen, it would commit us to money into next year, and there's some wording we'll have to do to make sure that's right, which we just don't have ready right now. So just an opportunity to let you know where things are at, and when that agreement's ready to go, I don't think David needs to come up unless you have specific questions about the project, and I'll just present it and we'll get it done and move on, so.
Okay, that's good.
Any questions about it? It's,
Now, and you said you're gonna put a you got 3 roundabout statue of
We've got 3 roundabouts, we've got 3
Brad and
commissioners.
myself and Chris.
We're done.
And
Got
each
it.
one,
It's just
I'm
you
gonna
know,
give him a new name tag.
so we have to decide, you know, you guys are east and
I don't like
west,
you
and we really have north and south, so you have to kind of decide which one's
Yeah.
which, but.
put Jeff on the Dunklin one.
So.
Brad.
Yeah, there you go.
Brad.
So, did you all, I guess you all got the letter from IC then, you know,
Yes.
they've got some requests and stuff too, so is that gonna add to the project or change it?
Not necessarily. I mean, I
That's
think
something on our end.
one of the questions I think they brought up was, you know, can we make the concrete the color of something, which might be harder than other parts of that, but certainly, you know, if they're intending to want to adopt the island, you know, it is going to be, that is still MoDOT right away, and so we probably have an example of what that might look like out there on the east end by the Walmart.
So that's where I was gonna go with it is, if this is something that they wanna do and they can work out a deal with them, that would kinda be on them. And if they wanna do it maybe with a group like Eastside Business Association.
Right, I think there's a lot of opportunities, typically what we've done in other roundabouts, we have supplied conduits from outside the roundabout to the center island.
Yeah.
And so folks have fed electric and or water, in through those conduits, to do whatever it is they want to do in the middle. And so the majority of our roundabouts, someone has adopted the center and is, taking care of it, whether that be down at Lincoln University or by, Stadium in Jefferson. We don't necessarily plan that from the get-go, apart from, providing the possibility for.
Dunklin would be the only one that the city still owned, right? Clark Dunklin, that roundabout.
Right, so
The
the
other two
city's.
would be MoDOT.
Correct,
Okay,
right.
because I think we can pass that on too and see if there's any interest on the east side.
Yeah, certainly folks could get a permissive use of right-of-way and do whatever it is that they want to do in the middle, provided that we ensure that the site distance remains what we need it to be around those roundabouts.
Very good.
Well, that's our parish, so we have to do that. Father Don said something about eternal damnation, so I think Jeff's already there, so,
So,
or Brad.
Wow.
if we want to,
Father Medina was at our deal last Saturday. I went to confession twice.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
So-
was
that enough?
until.
But yeah, I think the exciting thing that from the letter from IC was, the fact that they've indicated that they would be willing to work with us in terms of right-of-way.
yeah.
That's very exciting, because that is can sometimes be a big step, in projects like this. So certainly very happy to see that. And I think some of the other, I don't exactly remember everything that was in the letter, but those are the two things that stuck in my head.
I guess since my church didn't do anything at the roundabout at Stadium Jefferson, I'm going to hell too, so. I'd say if Sam needs money, he's pretty much out of luck.
Here's a copy of their letter. Yeah, you're Lutheran.
Yeah, well, we're tight. Of course, we wouldn't ask the county for money,
That's why.
because I'd have told them no.
Donate to the Catholics and the Lutherans. Be good at both of them.
Yeah, so looking at they talked about parking on Miller Street. Again, that's something that we can work through in the design. I don't know exactly. Some of that will probably change to some degree, just because of the need to get the proper approach into the roundabout. But we can preserve that to the greatest extent that we can. Install utilities underground. That's something that's a little bit outside of our ability to influence. Certainly we make a request, but again, the utilities are all private entities that have the right to be in the right of way, and we don't necessarily have the ability to tell them how they should have those facilities there. So, and that would be a tough one to try. I mean, it's the majority of that is telecommunication lines. I think are the ones that are the most visually distracting. They're huge cables with junction structures and everything in the air. But we'll see what happens. I mean, certainly all that stuff's going to have to get redone. Those poles are going to have to be moved. So maybe in that moving, maybe it becomes more feasible to put that in the ground. I know that, for instance, CenturyLink, when we built the roundabout at Stadium in Jefferson, they were aerial and they did go in the ground just because it was easier for them. So certainly the possibility, but we don't have the ability to dictate what happens. But we certainly will work with them to try to make
Well,
that happen.
I have my statue there. I want to light it at night.
Well, we'll put a conduit out there, and
Yeah.
we can run some electric so we can have. You want that up light or down light?
Uh,
I don't know.
Of course, that's also Eric's.
Maybe-
So
maybe-
it might be a
Maybe
might be a
internal
statue of
glowing or
Eric.
something. An ethereal glow, a halo, something we could.
If these are memorial statues, I don't need one. Just saying. You don't get a statue until you're gone. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the agreement, I mean, ultimately, what we're working with MoDOT And so we're assuming, hopefully by the end of the week, that we'll have an agreement from MoDOT that we can then present to our council. We're also working with Bartlett and West to get a scope and fee to expand the design to the two roundabouts. And then ultimately, you know, the agreement with you all. So we're kind of working all three of those things at the same time. You know, because ultimately the timeline that we've sort of established for this and to spend the grant money is relatively compressed. You know, we can, you know, we'll need to continue to move forward in order to hit those deadlines. So.
Okay.
You want to give a quick update on Dunklin, although I know nothing's happening, but.
Well, we had a meeting with Don Schneiders, it was probably 2 weeks ago, and we're beginning to discuss, you know, what is their time for starting again. And so they had indicated that they would intend to start probably the first week of March, so basically 2 weeks from now. And what that would look like is an immediate shutdown of Dunklin Street and the removal of the bridge would be the first order of business. They need to get in underneath the bridge and make a repair to our 30-inch sewer main that's in there. So they'll tear the bridge down, repair the sewer, and then start the reconstruction of the bridge. You know, at the same time, we're anticipating them to come back and begin doing the curb and gutter work, drive approaches on the northern side of the road, kind of work their way up, and kind of the pavement then would still be there, you know, to access for the local businesses. Get that done and then move over to the western side. So we're looking at a new completion date of June the 15th for that project. And so, yeah, it'll be back underway in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Where they're talking flooding,
Right.
yeah, the way they're talking flooding.
Right.
is kinda
Fortunately,
scary.
if we can get in there soon and get the sewer fixed, essentially we have just 3 short sections of stormwater pipe to put in. There's a pipe that crosses on one pipe on both ends of the bridge, which are the ones that are probably of concern, and then there's another pipe crossing up by Mulberry. And so apart from those 3 crossings, all the pipe is in the ground. So that's a benefit moving forward, especially if the water's going to come up. If we get those in, then, you know, certainly driving the pile, placing the riprap, you know, we can still work with that if the river comes up some. But, you know, certainly we're in a much better position than we were last year, so. But that's kind of the update on that. And I know certainly the East High Street project, they're out there working on that, working on the sewer lines to start. I believe that the retaining walls are probably going to start happening in the next week or so, basically kind of working from the western end towards the eastern end of the project. So yeah, we're really happy. Aplex seems to be anxious and eager to work on that, so I think that'll move ahead.
Are they still on schedule to do, basically have it ready for overlay and everything by the time school starts 2020, and then completely done by 2020? I know we had a question at the...
Right, so essentially, we are hoping to be through the area of the school by the time school would start again in the fall, Riverside. And then kind of work to the east of the school after school starts. We'll have to see if that, I mean, that's
kind of what the goal is.
Right.
Still
Right.
on.
But still, yeah, so the whole project would be complete sometime in November.
What we need to do is have you come back every 2-3 months, really, and kind of give us
Sure.
an update on projects.
Sure.
I think that way, you know, we're
Yeah, I mean,
partners.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be, I mean, certainly you know, I think folks, again, it's gonna be painful when we close Dunklin again. You know, there are a lot of folks that use that. So certainly, I'm sure there'll be some conversations about our anxious people to see that back open again. And then, you know, certainly the East High Street project will be going on all year, so. And then certainly, you know, the design and right-of-way purchases and whatever that start happening with the Clark project too. So there's a lot going on this year.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Do we need to?
We need to go back and talk about that EMS stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Done with.
Right, and you guys, so
Yeah.
you'll be working with Jill and figuring out how that language can read for the, yeah.
Okay, once that is done, I'll bring it to them, get it approved, send it to y'all.
Right.
Help.
Okay.
thank you all.
Thanks,
Thanks,
David.
David.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Sorry about the interruption.
Well,
but
it was curious.
Everybody was looking kind of sleepy, so.
A lot of little cool air would be.
It's a slow news day.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay, so we had approved
So we're gonna go back to the FTEP thing.
FTEP, yeah.
So we got put on the agenda as the sole source, but it should have been the awarding of the contract,
the,
right?
yes. This was
Is that right or
Or
not?
both.
Or both?
Because
No, we did the sole source thing a couple weeks ago, I thought.
you approved to run it, and
Yeah.
then she brought it back today saying it was run. So then it was awarded, but if you have a contract for them, then you can do both of those today.
Okay, well, let me just-
Okay, so we approved the sole source advertisement. We already did that, right?
Yes,
We approved to run it. Do we have to approve?
yes, and you already did earlier.
Right.
So it's the signing of the sole source.
Yes.
That's not just approving the advertising.
This is a contract or something.
This says signing of the FTEP sole source, and that is,
We did that earlier.
And now he has a contract.
we did
to
this
sign.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, this was January 24th is what this stated.
So what we just did earlier was the same thing we did.
Was basically
January
awarding
24th.
it. No, January 24th, we were asking permission to run the sole source.
The attachment that's attached to this agenda item is the request to run the form, or to run the sole source. Was the request for sole source.
Okay, well, maybe
So
I'm got it
this,
mixed up.
this should be totally different from that. Should be old business, but
You have a copy of yours.
Yeah, I think this is,
Oh, yeah.
but you're saying there's two things that we do after we get the sole source request form. We approve that, which we did January 24th, and then now we should have a contract and whatever else.
he says,
I don't know, it seemed kind of
Letter of
redundant that we have
agreement.
to approve it twice, but is that pretty typical?
Well,
I would think not, because that was the request to run the sole source and advertise for it.
but this was already run then, and that's why we're coming back saying it was run. Nobody came forward and
And
wanted to bid
contested
on
it.
it. So it's basically awarding it to this company then. And then that's what you did this morning, you awarded this. And now if you want to sign a contract for that particular vendor, then that's fine. Sometimes we put it on there as two different items on the agenda, which to me it should be two different items. You know, signing and awarding should be two
Just because
different.
you like to confuse me.
Sorry. I didn't know that you were ready
Well,
to.
we've
Always.
done awards and we've done contracts, I understand that.
Mhm.
But here we're also validating that we did the sole source. That's what this was. And now we're gonna sign the contract.
Yes.
An
Okay.
agreement, yeah.
Clear as mud now. Thank you.
okay.
Sorry, David.
Sorry.
I'm not trying to be
Maybe we
difficult.
should get two different forms.
I just didn't understand what way of going here. So, perfect, thank you.
Don't talk so much.
Get me out of here.
Gotta lose his voice. It's rubbing off.
All right, I move that we sign the agreement with National EMS Management Association's EMS FTEP program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do we have any other issues to come before us?
Did you get that invoice from the Bicentennial Committee? From Mark?
No, I seen him give you guys something.
Well, I've got the agreement, but I don't know. I don't think I have the invoice anywhere. Do you have that somewhere there, Sam?
There's the agreement.
Yeah, I heard you
Yes.
say somebody.
Yes. Yes.
Here's the signed agreement.
Oh, there's contract. Thank you. Yep.
So this accounts payable review, there's just 7 of them out there, or?
No, it should be all the P cards should be out there. You may have already approved them the last time, but there are quite a few out there. I'll have to go back to mine, but you may have already approved, but I probably had more than 7 this morning. So last Friday, 14th, or
Yeah.
last Friday.
So I'm gonna approve these 7, and then,
Then I'll go look, yeah, the
yeah.
14th. I'll go look real quick.
One side.
All right, anything else?
Anything else?
Maybe we stand in recess till 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.